Illaoi Swain is doing pretty good right now, and it has a lot to do with the fact that Tentacles are stacking up indefinitely, and the meta allows for that to happen. Hello, my name is Illaoi. I have been Masters 4 times, and today I'm going to be presenting to you Illaoi Swain and how they do in the current meta. Right now, the decks that you're currently running into are probably Fizz, Teemo, Karma Set, Illaoi Lucian, just to name a few. These are the decks that are being played the most as of right now, and a lot of them have a really good win rate. For example, Teemo, Illaoi Lucian, and Fizz are doing incredibly well. Karma Set still falling a little bit behind, but mostly because it requires a lot of good play, a lot of luck factor, as you cannot control sometimes the random factors that the deck has. The reason that this deck is doing as good as it is because of Tentacle. I originally started playing this deck with the idea that I should be playing around Swain. I am honestly wrong. This deck is being used to have that mid-range and the ability to be able to kill relatively strong units with Tentacle because of the Tentacle Slam, and also being able to pressure with the spells that Swain from Noxus is able to provide. Now, this deck is one of probably the few decks in the top meta right now that is not using Siren Song. Siren Song is not needed in this deck because there's not enough 1-cost units in this deck to be played. Swain, for example, is a 5-cost unit, Illaoi being a 4-cost unit. They themselves as champions do not benefit from the Siren Song. Remember, you're really playing this deck with the Tentacle to get as much priority and pressure as you can possibly have. Illaoi is able to pressure, it just gives you so much value. Her having 6 health also gives you so many opportunities of being able to attack in multiple attacks. With that in mind, because of this, Illaoi is able to level up a lot more easily than a lot of other champions. Swain is usually a card I don't want to hold early on, compared to Illaoi, who I'm more willing to hold her in my hand from the very beginning. The reason for this is I'm expecting to stack up the Tentacle by the time I'm able to play Illaoi. On the other hand, Swain, sometimes I might not have been able to play as many spells as I would have wanted to, based off of what my opponent has been playing. If Swain isn't leveled up by the time I get 5 mana or 6 mana and I end up playing him, I'm in a really bad spot. On the other hand, I can play Illaoi when I get to 5 or 6 mana, and I will still get benefits simply from her having Overwhelm, attacking. Even if she only has 1 Tentacle stack and gets 3/6, it still allows me to pressure a lot in the current meta. Consider that a lot of the decks that you're currently playing against are 1-cost units, and because of this, Illaoi having that 6 health allows you to go through that Overwhelm, allows you to, even with a 3/6 unit that costs you 4 mana, be able to prioritize and gain control of the map, even if you don't have anything else played except Illaoi in that moment. Now, I started playing this deck a lot more passively in the starting stages of the game. I would choose not to block or do anything with the Tentacle if I'm able to spawn it early. I would simply hold it, stall out, and think later on of how I'm going to pressure once I'm able to summon Illaoi. With this in mind, I actually started winning more games. I started winning in different ways. Normally, I used to play with the ideal of winning through Swain, but in this case, winning through Illaoi is a lot easier and a lot more direct because there is less that you have to do to get to that point of winning with Tentacle. Not to mention that all the cards that Tentacle is associated with are very, very good cards. You have Tentacle Slam, you have Nagakabaris, which lets you draw 2 and add 2 to the Tentacle at the same time, and just constant pressure that you normally wouldn't have with other decks right now. The winning strategy right now to deal with these 1-cost Siren Song decks is simply to overwhelm them. I think this deck probably struggles the most against Teemo. If Teemo is able to summon some Monument, you are in a really, really bad spot. I also struggled against Ashe LeBlanc. Getting Frostbite on your units puts you in a very, very shitty situation. This deck really does well against what is currently meta, but if you are not facing these Siren Song decks, you might have a little bit of a complexity. Still does really, really well overall, as Illaoi stacking up usually happens by turn 6 or 7. Illaoi stacking up by 5 or 6 mana is generally really simple to perform and do. If you're playing this deck right now, honestly, just play for Illaoi. She's a lot easier. As for Swain, Swain gives you that privilege and that advantage to be able to clear up the whole enemy board if you're playing against a lot of these massive spawn units kind of decks. So think of that and think of how you can take advantage of Swain being able to clear the enemy board, and you're honestly always going to be leading the charge here instead of being overrun by the opponent. Even if you get to late game with this deck, you can still survive as you have a lot of opportunities in this deck, such as the Leviathan and Riptide Rex. Remember, this deck is pretty mid-range, so play around the mid-game. Don't necessarily try to pressure too hard in the early game. If anything, do hold some cards. Sometimes you're better off holding than it is to simply try to wipe out your opponent's board the moment they summon one single unit. Try to clear and target appropriately. If you have something to kill a Lucian or a Fizz, you're better off holding on to that card as you will need it later on. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, subscribe. Hopefully you stop playing Zolani because that card is cringe. Thank you. Skip block, realistically, like he would be okay. He doesn't know what I have in my hand, which is kind of like the differing factor for him. He might just, you know, be screwing himself a little, but we'll see what he does. We'll see how he survives the pressure that I have for him. Those are strong here, that's what his best. I'm actually super. Damn, it'd be nice if I could play this guy. This guy has quick attack, very exciting. I can play double. He kind of wants things to die, though, to be fair. He's already at 1. I do just need to kill it. He's like, okay, why would you do that? Don't take any damage. Illaoi free. Damn, it'd be a shame if I had the same card again. Let's go! It'd be a shame if I could do that again, right? Okay, I kind of understand now why this deck is super cringe to play against. Illaoi Tentacles is just really obnoxious. Illaoi being able to have Overwhelm just makes her incredibly hard to deal with. And then Swain, like, ability, he actually doesn't have any spells to, like, counteract me with. At least I don't think so. No, there's only buff up spells. Wait, it can't even go through. No, it can't.
Oh, test yourself.
Okay.
Witness truth.
Come on. Block me, coward. Yeah, he had, what's it called? The 4/4 spell in his hand, the one that gives him the attack, because I chose to attack instead of like defend. It's just